My name's Carolyn Braaksma, and I'm a public artist, and I live outside of Denver, Colorado. Public art is so much about education, whether you're talking about medium or process or the region. I want to talk about something that speaks to this place. I knew I was interested in putting patterns and textures on walls that reference this area's relationship to textiles. Then I found out there were so many plants that eat insects and so many different orchids that live in the Carolinas. I started looking at how do those two come together.
I'm Larry Mellichamp. I'm an old-fashioned botanist. I first saw the orchid leaves and the bladderworts. I wondered, why would anybody put carnivorous plants on a public art display? But if it intrigues you, then you keep looking at it until you figure out what it means.
Some of their content is the plants, but it's also a combination of patterning that identifies different textiles. Calico is an overall print, and challis is more like a weave structure, and gingham is the rectangular modular shape. You're designing layer of treatment that is kind of like an outdoor wallpaper. When I was at the residency at the McCall, we had big pictures up to show the public what they would get on the 4 miles of walls. There was a kid who came in and he spotted some of the plants right off and knew what they were because he was fascinated with them when he was younger. That was impetus to go further.
Carnivorous plants need high rainfall, acid, low nutrient soils, and their habitats are maintained by fire, which is a prominent feature down in southeastern North Carolina in the vicinity of what's well known as the Green Swamp. North Carolina has more kinds of carnivorous plants than anywhere else in the world.
It was really lucky for me to find out that you had all those exotic plants because I've been following wildflowers in books since I was a kid. And so this was my big moment to get a pitcher plant out in the world.
A meadow of pitcher plants in bloom is a beautiful sight. The flowers vaguely resemble daffodils. Early in the spring, insects come looking for nectar, and they're added to the column of victims inside the pitchers. There are 4 rules for being a carnivorous plant. You have to attract, catch, digest, and absorb. There are all kinds of mechanisms to keep the prey from getting out. The pitfall trap of the pitcher plant, the sticky hairs of sundews, the aquatic bladderworts, they're like little vacuum cleaners. When an insect touches one of the trigger hairs, it goes, it sucks in that little volume of water that the insect is in.
I chose them for their oddities. You know, if a plant had polka dots, stripes, veins, that's the one I wanted.
A really big sundew would be the size of your big fingernail. They're covered with sticky tentacles. They can catch insects much larger than they are.
The sundew had that burst with all the little arms, and that suited me for something vertical. You know, it was fun to know that it could be just 1.5 inches long, and we could make it this big.
We've got over 100 retaining walls on this project, and almost half of them have patterns that are native plants in North Carolina on them. We want aesthetic treatments to bring a higher level of energy to those areas. Looking at it in a 2-dimensional drawing is one thing, and then making it 3-dimensionally is a whole nother thing. There's a truth in your surface that you're working on, and you owe it to the final material to make it interesting. She's thinking about how she's going to make the form and how deep can she make those carvings. She has looked at our plans and talked with our designers on what size canvas does she have. We knew right up front that there would be a lot of walls. Once I found out there were some bridges, I said, well, could I do the railing? Well, can I turn the girders colors? When I was in 1st grade, the teacher reprimanded us for not using our paper fully. And ever since then, I feel like I better make it as big as I can. There's all kinds of different planners that were involved. There's electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers. It was obvious working with Carolyn that she had some engineering background. She was able to communicate well about what she needed and what's going on. There's no way you could do all these walls and not be that well organized. Jill talked to us about how much relief in and out I could have. And then it's up to me to fit it into certain methods of casting the concrete. I like that problem-solving idea. My degree was in printmaking and I did lithostones, and so you have a confined size. The similarity to me is that you're printing the concrete. Even though they have what looks like a delicate finish on there, those retaining walls are going to last 100 years. It's going to be a legacy in Charlotte. That's why I love being a civil engineer. And knowing the design and the thoughtful things that we did are going to make people's lives better. The wall with the pitcher plant, the green bridges, they become landmarks easily. You had Larry Mellichamp, who's an authority on these plants, who noticed and was amused. That's about as good as it gets.
to say, ha-ha, look what you did.
I never fail to be interested as I drive along, no matter how many times I've seen them. The art is a representative of the microcosm of nature. The motifs call attention to an aspect of the natural world very few people experience. I don't know that I'm any happier when I'm in a pitcher plant bog, even with the mosquitoes. Every plant and animal has a different personality, and everything is in balance. Life is a series of competitions and cooperations between species, the balance of nature. It's also going on down inside of a pitcher plant. And that should be a little inspiration, a little notion to bring a little bit of nature into our reality, into our sphere.